Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now welcome to one of my back to basics videos where I show you how to undertake a relatively straightforward function within your sartorial world, but actually many of us have forgotten some of these skills or we're new to the world of dressing well and we need a reminder. So today I'm going to iron a pair of trousers. One of my absolute bugbears is seeing men who are initially they give the appearance of being well dressed, but when you get a little closer you can see they certainly haven't ironed their trousers, maybe their jackets, maybe their shirts. The iron is actually a really good friend to the intentionally well-dressed man. Now today I'm going to show you how to iron one of the most perennially loved pairs of one's clothing. It's the grey flannel slacks, and this is a pretty good pair of grey flannel slacks. As you can see, it's quite thick material. It's one which I wear in the winter predominantly, but it's one which will hold a crease for a little while, then it drops out, so it needs to be ironed regularly. Now, what am I using today in my ironing process? Well, ironing board, good place to start. Good solid ironing board is going to be necessary because to get a good crease in your trousers, you're going to need to apply pressure, right? Pressure and heat and steam is what's going to be our friend here. So a nice solid ironing board. If you don't have an ironing board, actually for trousers, the kitchen table or a worktop can also be employed equally as well. Not quite so easy to iron a shirt on a kitchen table, but actually with a pair of trousers, it's possible. I also need a good iron, and I'm just using a pretty standard steam iron today. Temperature setting, I've actually set rather high because I don't intend for the base plate of my iron ever to come in contact with these trousers. There's going to be something between them at all times. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. And the other thing I'm going to need, absolutely necessary for long-term maintenance of your trousers when you're ironing, is an ironing cloth. Now, an ironing cloth is just a piece of thin material. Now this is cotton, right? This is a piece of old cotton shirt. It's the back panel from an old shirt which I've cut out, and I use this as my ironing cloth, and I will show you what I use that for as we go along. But you don't need to spend any money if you've got an old piece of cotton sheet or something which can just act as a barrier between your trousers and the heat source. So imperative when one is ironing your trousers is to make sure we get it nice and ready before the iron comes anywhere near it. So I'm taking hold of my trousers and I'm just going to lay it flat on my ironing board, making sure that the trousers is perfectly flat, that the crease is exactly where we want it to be, because when I apply the heat and the iron to this, if we've not laid it flat properly, we're going to end up with tram lines. In other words, two creases down the front of your trousers, and nothing looks worse. And if you end up doing that, it's really hard to recover those trousers back into a nice single crease. So lay it out flat. Take your time. Take as much time making sure your trousers are laid out as you do with the ironing. And if there's a pleat, make sure that everything is as you would like it to be. If it's a pair of lined trousers, as these are, you will feel that there's a lining inside the material of the trouser. Just make sure it's all nice and flat, where the crease is, where you want it to be. For me, that's looking good. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a trick for me. I'm going to get my spritzer bottle. Now this is a bottle containing, quite simply, water, nothing more than that. Or you can buy this ironing water stuff these days, which has a little bit of a fragrance in it, which imparts a pleasant odour to the ironing process. But you can just use tap water, nothing more than that. Now I'm just going to squirt a little bit of this along the length of where I intend to do the ironing, because that will help generate a little bit of steam, which will just help the crease stick. Now, that all-important ironing cloth I'm going to lay over where I'm about to iron. Again, making sure it's all lying nice and flat. Now, I'm just going to apply the ironing. I've got no steam set on this iron. It is just the standard heat. I'm not using the steam setting of this steam iron. And all I'm doing, a couple of initial sort of exploratory irons, making sure that everything is lying flat. And now it's set as I want it to be. I'm applying quite a lot of pressure because it is the pressure with that heat which will ensure we get a wonderful crease at the end. You can spend as much time doing this as you like, and actually, if you really want to get a solid crease, you can add a little bit more water. On top of that ironing cloth, it'll create a little bit more steam, and there we will get an even better crease at the end. There we go. Now, got a little bit more to do before I finish this leg. So a little bit more water. And then cloth again. The iron never touches the trousers. All right? There's always an agent between us. And in this case, it is this ironing cloth. Always. We never put the base plate of the iron directly on the trousers because it runs the risk of scorching the trousers. It runs the risk of any number of things. But there we go. I have now ironed half of one leg. The secret to a really good crease is now to flip the trousers over and do that crease from the other side. So again, spend all the time in the world making sure that the leg underneath is not, underneath, so that when we iron it, we're going to be ironing that at the same time. Set it all out nice and tidy. Bit more water down there. Does the job for us. Ironing cloth in place. Pop that over there. And now, exactly what we've just done. But what we're doing now, because we've already ironed the other side of the trousers, we're now, by ironing this one, we're bringing that crease to a fine point, as good as we possibly can. Plenty of pressure. I'm really putting the pressure on. Now that I'm really satisfied the crease is where I want it to be, I'm really laying that pressure on as much as I can. And you can, spend some time on this, as I showed you, adding a bit of extra water if you want to. There we go. Now, same again, bottom of the trouser leg, a little bit of fluid on there, just to help with the steam. Put my ironing cloth on there and get it on there. Get that pressure on, make sure everything's good. If you've got a turn-up or a cuff on the bottom of your trousers, same process, you just got to be a little bit more careful in the process. There we go. So that is one leg fully ironed to the front of the trousers, right? I've just done the front. Of course, we want to crease down the back as well. So whilst we're on this leg, what I'm going to do is just pick the trouser up and drop it down onto the back. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't put quite so much effort into the back of my trousers, because I know the crease is less visible, and I'm going to sit down, and as soon as I do so, that crease is going to break. So I only iron one side of the crease on the back of my trousers, the inside, the bit which is on the inside of one's leg. So fluid on there. Make sure that crease is nice and set. See, we're getting a little better at it now. We've just done the front. The trouser is helping us by lying in the way that it wants to be ironed. My iron goes on, pressure, and that crease is now being cast into the trousers, into the material, and we're going to have a lovely, sharp, re-effaced crease. But I'm only doing the one side of the crease to the back, because you call me lazy if you like, but I just can't be bothered to do the double at the back because I know it's not going to have any attention. And let's be honest, we don't want to spend all day at the ironing board, because you might do this every other day if you're wearing these trousers regularly. So there we go. We have now set one leg fully creased at the front. Let me just show this to you here. I hope you can see that there's an absolutely splendid crease on that trouser leg, on front and back, and that is going to show us up as a very intentionally well-dressed man indeed. All I'm going to do now is repeat that exact process on the other leg, and these trousers are going to look tip-top, and I will definitely stand out from the crowd as a man who's taken the time to put the iron on his trousers. You can do exactly the same. just make sure you take your time and always use an ironing cloth. And my final recommendation is when you've done all that hard work, make sure that you use a trouser hanger. All right, so I'm sure you're familiar with a trouser hanger, but rather than hang your trousers over a coat hanger and then break them in the middle, break those creases, as you would in that sort of fashion, I recommend using a trouser hanger, which is basically just a simple hanger like this, which will grip your trousers at the hem, at the bottom of your sleeve, of your leg, and that way, when they hang in the wardrobe, those creases are retained for as long as possible and ready and sharp when you need them. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. One of my back to basics videos. You'll also find another ironing video in the series on how to iron a shirt, which you may also find helpful. So if you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. You can support the channel, buy me a coffee, or you can become a patron to see lots of additional video content that I create only for my patrons. So until the next time, make sure those trousers are sharp and well ironed, and I will see you again very soon.